When I was young and first got into contact with the tech world, Apple products seemed to be always the best, top of the notch, for outrageous pricing. But is this nowadays still true? Let's find out. Hey, what's up guys, Max Anderson here from the Pentagon Studios. Welcome to the video. Before we dive right into it, I want to say that I'm not a macOS, iOS, Windows or Android fan. I don't care much about operating systems since most of the time I'm using third-party software and apps anyway, and their operating system makes not much difference. But when you are, for example, a seasoned Final Cut editor or you're using Windows-only software and it makes a difference for you and your workflow, it's okay. Nice to hear. In this video, I just want to clear once and for almost if I would have to pay really that much more to be in the Apple ecosystem. And I'm aware, the comment section will be full of people trying to end the endless discussion Mac versus PC. But let's be honest, at this time of technical evolution, both of them are good. And it comes down to personal preferences. So we won't talk about that. What we will talk about is speed, simplicity and cost effectiveness. So let's begin. For comparison, we will use my very specific situation as a photographer, writer and filmmaker. We will bunch together a content creator package consisting of a phone, obviously, a laptop for working on the go and a desktop computer for editing and the heavy lifting. These products I find crucial for every content creator. We won't choose the best products, since nobody like me needs them, but we will choose products that most of the people will actually need and buy. So let's start with phones first. On the Apple side of things, I could choose the iPhone 11 Pro. It's an amazing product with good specs, a nice camera for my photography soul and good aesthetics. But if you want to spend less, then the normal iPhone 11 or the new iPhone SE 2020 looks like a really good alternative. Also used or last generation devices are a good option because Apple keeps them up to date with software updates. For prices, we look at 1,300 euros for the 265GB version of the iPhone 11 Pro, 850 euros for the iPhone 11 and 530 euros for the iPhone SE with 128GB of storage. I would choose the iPhone 11 because it's cheaper. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to spend more than $1,000 for a phone that's in less than a year outdated. So now let's see what we can get for that amount of money in the Android world. We could get a Samsung S20 Ultra or a OnePlus 8 Pro as a counterpart to the iPhone 11 Pro. With both phones we would save from 200 to 400 euros. So the privilege of using a high-end Apple phone costs you around 300 euros. If you want to get a counterpart to the iPhone 11, the normal Samsung S20 or a similar model from your preferred brand would be a good choice. There, the difference is far less with around 150 euros. At the lower end, the iPhone SE 2020 sits at a really good price point for Apple products. And you don't save much when you go the Android way. In conclusion, for the phone department, we can say that the decision Android or iOS comes down to personal preferences in 2020. You won't save much with either of them and you have to choose if, for example, the OS, a bigger screen or a better camera is important for you. But in this video, we won't go too much into detail. Moving on to laptops. There, I would choose the MacBook Pro 16-inch in the Apple world for its fast performance and the usual aesthetics of a MacBook. They simply look good, no question. The Intel i9 that I would choose performs really good, and it is nice to see finally a MacBook that can handle heavy, multi-threaded work. I'm also liking the taller aspect ratio, especially for video editing. There, the more real estate comes in really handy. The touch bar is quite nice, but easily removable with a faster way, using shortcuts and macros. For configuration, I would choose the 8-core model with 32GB of RAM and the base model GPU. That should be a good compromise. For storage, I would go with the 1TB base model, because the upgrade of storage costs you a bunch of money. For the 500 euros you're spending more on the 2TB version, you could get more than double the amount of external SSD storage. And thanks to USB Type-C 3.1 Gen 2, your external drive isn't the bottleneck anymore, with up to 1000 megabytes a second. Since I'm most of the time editing from external SSDs anyway and import them later onto my main computer, it is convenient for me to use them. For prices, we're now at 3,700 euros for the MacBook. If you prefer a more compact, even more portable version, the freshly updated MacBook Pro 13-inch should be a great choice. There, the quad-core i7 is a must, but for this processor, 16GB of RAM should be more than enough. 1TB of storage, just like explained. In the Windows world, there are a few options. As a photographer, I like to travel with my laptop in my bag, so portability is huge for me. For that reason, we're only taking smaller, more portable laptops into consideration and leaving the heavier, better performing laptops aside. The most similar laptop to compete with the MacBook is the Dell XPS 15-inch. For 2,700 euros, you get the corresponding i9 processor with 32GB of RAM and an Ultra HD OLED panel. Or for 150 euros less, you could get the IPS-C touchscreen model. Also different are the connections. The XPS has HDMI, a Thunderbolt port and 2 USB-A ports. Whether that is a nicer solution or not depends on your workflow. If you're using Thunderbolt monitors and most of your devices have USB Type-C, then the 4 Thunderbolt ports on the MacBook are hard to beat. But if you have some USB-A devices, you can say goodbye to your dongle life with the Dell XPS. So as we can see, there are advantages and disadvantages to both of the systems, but a deal breaker is definitely the price. You pay 1,000 euros more for a similar equipped MacBook. A quick side note here. There are rumors that in the next few months, Dell will announce new versions of the XPS series, featuring the newest Intel 10th Gen processors up to 5.3 GHz, a bigger touchscreen, a 16:10 touch display, and all of the ports are USB Type-C with Thunderbolt support. With this update, the difference between the MacBook and the XPS series shrinks down to nearly nothing. So if you are into these features, I would suggest waiting until these products launch. There are so many other great laptops out there. Just think of the Asus ProArt or the Razer Blade series. But you get the point with this one example, and we do not have the time. If you want to see a video where I consider more models, leave a comment below. To conclude this segment, we can say that you have to pay around 1,000 euros more to use a high-end MacBook. If features like a lot of GPU power, various connections or a touchscreen are important for you, the variety of Windows laptops is probably the better option. But if performance isn't everything for you, the other Apple products, such as the MacBook Air, are also a good option. There the price difference isn't that big. It is just the case when you want top-notch performance, like me. But I guarantee you that most of the people won't need an 8-core processor. Moving on to desktop computers. The powerhouses. In my case, is this the computer where all of the heavy tasks are handled. Rendering, decoding, video editing, and 3D tasks, to name a few. There, I'm only interested in one thing, performance, because you know, time is money. But first a side note. For my specific case, I just take into comparison two programs, Premiere Pro and After Effects, because these are the programs I use the most. The following stats are from the amazing guys over at PureGemSystems.com. Thanks for sharing this with us, you're great. This time, let us look at Windows PCs first and configure a high-end PC workstation. A computer with a 16-core AMD Ryzen processor, 64GB of RAM, a 2080 Ti, and a terabyte of storage costs around 3,300 euros. It is a beast of a machine, and I would struggle to use the full potential of the system, just like most of the people. And the 2080 Ti is more than overkill, but important for our comparison. A 2060 or 2070 Super gets the job done perfectly, and we're looking at 600 euros less. But now, it is getting really interesting. Let us compare the performance to the Mac Pro, the fastest computer Apple currently offers. To get a similar overall performance in both Premiere Pro and After Effects, it takes a maxed out 28-core Mac Pro with a Radeon Pro Vega Duo and 69GB of RAM. But even then, it's slower. 24,000 euros, and it is slower than our 3,300 euro system? That can't be true. But in my case, it is. Numbers don't lie. To put this in perspective, we're talking about 13% of the costs for a similar performance. And this isn't the end of the story. We could get 50% more performance than the maxed out Mac Pro for only 5,000 euros by using a 32-core AMD Threadripper. Now, before you storm the comment section, I want to say again that these numbers are only applying to Premiere Pro and After Effects. Maybe the Mac Pro performs better in other applications, for example in programs that aren't scaling very well with more CPU cores, like your web browser or Photoshop. There, the results could be different. But even then, a Ryzen processor would be probably the better choice, because surely the Xeon processors aren't optimized for single-threaded workloads. To conclude this segment, we can say that you have to pay around 5 times more to use a high-end desktop computer from Apple. So now let's sum up all of these products and let's see what a content creation package with both systems would cost me. The Windows and Android system would cost me 6,700 euros. And when we go not so overkill 2080 Ti, we could stay easily under 6,000 euros. An equally good iOS and macOS system, on the other hand, would cost me 28,500 euros. 4 times more. The deal breaker is definitely the Mac Pro. If we leave that product aside, the difference becomes only 1,000 euros. But this is the reason why I won't switch to Apple products in the near future. Their phones and laptops are great, no question. I will enter the ecosystem. But for the high-end products with blazing fast performance, the offerings from Apple are not an option. For me at least. Lastly, I want to say that I don't want to blame people that are buying Apple products or Apple itself. Just like I said, they're great. But for my specific use case, they aren't suitable and cost effective. I just want to share this information with you as a content creator and as a friend. So, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed it and consider subscribing. See ya!